Hi, this is Jules, and I'm talking to Lenni this morning.
Good morning.
And we're going to talk a little bit about some aspects of cross-dressing, but also we're talking about AIDS and a few issues around gay and same-sex relationships. Now, of course, not all cross-dressers are even remotely interested in that. In a survey which we did on the Fiona Dobson website, only 8% of cross-dressers said, "Hey, I'm gay." And I think it was something like 49% said that they were bisexual, and the remainder were either straight, or we had a very odd number of about 8% of people said none of the above.
So asexual.
Or tentacle. Alien.
Love the tentacle porn.
But
Kidding, not into tentacle porn.
the thing is, I think there's a lot of assumptions around cross-dressing which are massively wrong. But where it's really kind of interesting is we've been talking this morning a little bit before we did this recording about the idea that some people would rather be, they just can't stand the idea of being identified as a cross-dresser. So what I'd been talking about was that if a cross-dresser is hiding something, particularly from a wife, there's a terrible danger that the wife, who has kind of a sixth sense about some of these things, is going to be suspicious of something. And likely her mind is going to be, oh, he's having an affair. In other words, he can get the wrong end of the stick. Now this takes us towards something which is a very interesting thing which happened in the gay community. Lenni, can you tell us a little bit about silence equals death?
Back in the 80s, at the height of the AIDS epidemic, people were... It was so bad to identify yourself as possibly gay or bisexual or within these communities that people were not getting tested, or if they did get tested, they were hiding so much because it was better to die than to shame your family or to come out to them as gay. And one of the things that sort of came out through a lot of kind of the discourse around how to deal with the AIDS epidemic within the queer communities was this silence equals death. That, kind of come out wherever you are, because dealing with and facing things honestly was going to be the only way that things could be sort of dealt with. Now, the silence equals death is also definitely very political, not just personal, but super political, which was that people kind of politically had this sense of, oh, we don't have to worry about the AIDS epidemic. That's just the fags. So we don't need to listen to this. It has nothing to do with me, not realizing that their son is gay and in the closet and things like this. So there's a lot of things in the 80s and through the 90s where it was out loud, like live out loud, be proud and out. That's where a lot of the gay pride stuff comes from, because it does come out of that silence equals death. And I think that comes a lot out of the feminist movement too, which is, you have to make your voice heard. So there is something within that cross-dress, just to kind of extrapolate to that, the cross-dress, that the people that we love, they're smart people. and giving people the chance to love you as you fully and totally are. I don't know, anyway.
A lot of cross-dressers are afraid of what the wife might think, or what their children might think. Now, as I've become much more openly, I wouldn't use the word completely out, because there's many aspects there's many things where I'm not going to dress. But as I integrate it more and more into my life, I've found huge acceptance. But I think I've been very lucky.
You are coming at a place in privilege, in that you do walk through the world with a good amount of privilege, and one of the things is that you live in a really liberal urban environment. I'm quite certain if we were in Red Deer, Alberta, you would not be wearing this delightful leather skirt you're wearing today.
If I was in Red Deer, Alberta, I would be trying to hook my toe into a shotgun trigger and blow my head off.
Well, let's not go there.
However, one of the things, one of the things you said, which is quite interesting, is the idea that public discourse, as people are now talking about this, we're getting into a slightly different place. So, for example, as people started to talk about issues around gay behavior, and it started to come into the public conversation, especially as some of the celebrities started to kind of wave a flag, that's kind of an interesting step. Now, in the cross-dressing world, there is a kind of parallel as you see things like the RuPaul drag show, and it's not something I particularly watch. But what I do like is the fact that people are talking about that now. And more importantly, people like some of the military people who've come out and said, yeah, I'm transgender. Now, cross-dressing and transgender, of course, we've got
Right.
kind
And
of a
I'm
different thing
really
going there, but there's
enjoying
something there.
seeing some of the younger, especially millennials, that model, oh, what is his name? Oh, it's terrible that I've forgotten his name. He's a Maybelline makeup model,
Right, yeah.
Amazing makeup artist, and I don't think he's gay. Or when asked like that, it's
Right.
like, that's none of your business. He's really good with makeup.
Right.
He's really beautiful.
And there's a lot of the young girls are following his blog.
Exactly. So there is a place where it's with the millennials, it's just what looks good and what feels good, and that's just fine.
Right.
So I think that there is a place where people in our generation, being a little bit older, are kind of going to go 10 years from now that they're standing on standing on the wrong side of history on this one.
Right.
That the kids have got it. The kids don't care.
My kids really, whatever.
Well,
It's
but
not an
you were
issue.
freaking out.
I was terribly worried about when someone actually took it into their head to mention something, how that would be received.
Right.
And I was completely wrong.
Yeah. Yeah,
Now,
exactly.
I think a lot of us do to some degree live in fear of that.
Mm-hmm.
I also think that for something to be just dumped into the public sphere, if you are suddenly exposed as this raging cross-dresser, then there's a problem. But that's absolutely not the way to do it. One doesn't need to sort of beat the wall down with a sledgehammer on day one. To gradually emerge, and a lot of the Fiona Dobson content talks about gradually moving towards a more gender fluid position in the center of the spectrum. So looking at becoming slightly more androgynous in clothing. But of course, another aspect of this is it's not all about clothing.
Right.
It's about the way you think and the way you feel. Which is why sometimes the term cross-dressing can be a little bit awkward, because it's not really all about cross-dressing. It's more about how you adopt a slightly more femme approach to life, a slightly gentler approach to life, a slightly more sensitive approach. And of course, even describing that as femme somewhat feeds into this gender binary idea of masculine and feminine, which doesn't really lead us any further forward.
Well, that's one of the things that I, from sort of the beginning of me coming into this, Fiona Dobson and meeting cross-dressers and things like this outside of the gay community, the straight cross-dress community, let's say, outside of the gay community, is as a feminist,
Right.
is that starts to become an interesting conversation for me, and an interesting looking at, femaleness as costume, femaleness as fetish, femaleness as, how come is it you're cross-dressed in heels and a skirt right now, but I'm not cross-dressed in jeans, a collar shirt, and work boots?
Yeah.
How is that?
Well,
And what does that mean as
That's
far
very
as sort of,
difficult.
so this is it. It's like I almost feel like we need to redefine the terms around gender rather than redefining our bodies or our looks or our style, because it's just style.
absolutely. My own take on this, and everybody's going to have a slightly different approach to it. My own take on this is that we use the term cross-dressing, but really what we're talking about is a gender fluidity. And as one embraces that idea, one moves towards almost a genderless approach to life. So masculine, feminine, they're really more like hair color.
But there are people who it is around fetish, and that's great too.
Right.
Like
Yes.
I totally dig on the like fetish thing. If your fetish is, dress up in evening gowns, and my fetish is dress up in leather, and their fetish is, puppy stuff. I don't like.
I should explain about that.
Okay, that has nothing to do with actual canines. It's a fetish,
No.
and it's.
We were in a bar the other night where there was a meeting of the puppies, and these are guys who actually do dress up as puppies and have basically masters. And as Dave Sicano said, it's kind of a switch on the BDSM scene. They're different words, different costumes, but they're basically doing the same thing.
Right. Okay. So this, I mean, these puppies are very cute and they're very well behaved, and I don't think anybody peed on the floor, which was fantastic.
That's excellent.
But
Do you think the masters carry a little plastic bag around as well? The little blue one, which is biodegradable, just in case.
I hope not. That's just, what? There's just a place where some fetishes like carry on with your own fetish. So there is a place where where fetish is a thing, and this is the thing that's interesting with the Fiona Dobson and getting to know people and messaging people in Little Black Book and stuff like this is that some people it runs the gamut from one person that's really hoping to totally transition and views themselves as completely female.
Right.
As a woman, all the way through to something where it's this like Saturday night fetish, and that's great too. So there's this huge gamut of what what exactly is the significance of that pair of heels for those two people are two completely different things, but that they found this place where like wigs and tips and tricks and shaving.
It is fascinating, and I'm kind of curious to one of these days try and figure out if there are some people where it does start as a fetish and then maybe it moves to something else, and I'm sure this isn't always the case, but sometimes it's rekindled as people become more sexually active. For instance, you may have a slight gender messing around game in childhood, early childhood, and then later as one becomes more sexually active, something creeps in as a sort of a fetish. And then later in middle age, well, that starts to become, hang on a minute, I feel really comfortable doing that. Maybe this isn't something just in the bedroom. Maybe this is, I'm going to wear lipstick as I drive to work every morning.
Well, I think this is one of the interesting things where there can be lessons that are learned through the queer community, which is that there is this place where you get to, by stepping outside of sexual and gender norms, by, declaring yourself queer in college, like I did. What I mostly did is I stepped out of the normal, which means now I have given myself and the people around me, whether they like it or not, have given me permission to express as I desire. So for a while there in college, I was ultra femme, lipstick lesbian, and then I went ultra butch because I thought I needed to do that because that was my job was a quote unquote man's job. So then I went ultra butch, and then I sort of come back into the middle, so that if I walk down the street, I'm not projecting ultra femme or super dykey. And then, 35 years later, I'm going, bisexual. I'm bi, always was bi. Still doesn't make me not queer. So I can keep redefining. The interesting thing is within the heterosexual or heteronormative culture, there seems to be this thing like, this is how boys behave. And then you're going to do this, and then you're going to get love and marriage, and you're going to have babies, and you're going to blah, 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 and this is what a grandpa looks like. Boom. And this is like, it's prescribed. This is how you're supposed to be. I stepped off that train at 20.
Yeah.
So every decade I can redefine myself, and my friends just look at me and go, well, that's what you're into now. Yeah, that's what I'm into now. Whereas straight people, to step off that track seems such a huge thing because everyone in your society, everyone doesn't expect you to step off this track.
Right. Well, Jeff one day, Jenny the next. If you're in your mid-40s or your mid-50s, that is a massive step. And I'm inclined to encourage people to gradually make that move. But it's a different process to what you went through, which would require enormous bravery as a 20-year-old, say. And also, it's quite fraught with danger, because at that point that you've said, okay, I am gay, or I am a lesbian, at that point, you're kind of expected to behave like a lesbian. Now, for a lot of us who are...
But it was better than being expected to behave like a good girl.
Right, so it's an improvement.
Yeah, it was. Everybody quit asking me, when are you getting married and when are you having babies?
I think a lot of people who are in my position, so, middle-age, they're really accepting who they are, and they find that is a slightly more feminine version of what they thought they were. And obviously cross-dressing is a beautiful way to experience that. But rather than stepping into something and saying, I'm now defining myself as this, it's really more of a process of, I'm not choosing this, I'm accepting it, but it's actually just who I am now, which is a slightly different thing. Okay, well look, Lenny, this has been a really interesting conversation, and I hope people who are listening to this have got something out of it. Please make some comments below, and perhaps we'll do another one of these soon.
Okay, bye.
See you again.